Behind the Iron Curtain, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev is led into the private laboratory of Professor Vanko, aka the Crimson Dynamo, one of the world's greatest experts on electricity. Vanko is dressed in an outlandish red suit that gives him the appearance of a human dynamo. Vanko provides a demonstration of the Crimson Dynamo's powers by disintegrating a robotic replica of Iron Man, then remotely controlling a tank. He impresses Khrushchev greatly, despite concerns that Vanko is too diabolical and egotistical to trust. Khrushchev challenges the Crimson Dynamo to go to America and destroy Iron Man and sabotage Stark Industries' defense efforts. 2 weeks later, near a missile test pad owned by Stark Industries, Pepper Potts, Happy Hogan and Tony Stark gather to watch the test launch. Stark sneaks away and changes into his Iron Man armor, just in case something goes wrong. The Crimson Dynamo is hiding on the outskirts of the launch site, and uses his control over electricity to cause the rocket to go out of control. Iron Man soars into the air and grabs the nose cone of the rocket, slowing it enough so that he can use his armored body to absorb the impact with the ground. The rocket and its crew are saved, but the impact knocks Iron Man for quite a loop. Frustrated, the Crimson Dynamo decides to extend his wave of sabotage to other Stark Industries facilities, reasoning that Iron Man can't protect them all. He travels from site to site around country, destroying facilities and burning each to the ground. Both Stark and the Pentagon officials he deals with are concerned by this recent wave of sabotage. In Washington, D.C., a rumor is started that suggests Stark is working with the communists to waste military resources on projects that will never be completed. Stark begins to worry about the government losing confidence in his company and canceling his contracts, which would put him out of business. Nearby, outside the Stark Industries headquarters, the Crimson Dynamo is preparing to launch a final assault against Iron Man himself. He dons his Crimson Dynamo armor and blasts through the perimeter fence with an electrical bolt. Security alarms warn Stark about the approaching menace, who jets into his office and changes into Iron Man. Crashing through a wall, Iron Man comes face to face with the saboteur, spotting the Crimson Dynamo for the first time. He infers, based on the nature of the recent acts of sabotage, that the dynamo's powers are based on electricity. He devises a counter-strategy, using his transistor powers to create a protective force field. He then takes to the air and goads the Crimson Dynamo into confessing to his crimes, which he records on an ultra-sensitive tape recorder built into his armor. He then begins knocking down trees, which he uses to corral the Crimson Dynamo. Iron Man flies away, only to return minutes later. He picks up the Crimson Dynamo and flies out over Flushing Bay, threatening to drop him into the water. Fearing electrocution, the Crimson Dynamo surrenders. Iron Man then plays for him a recording, supposedly of Khrushchev ordering Vanko to be killed when he returns to Russia. In actuality, Iron Man had secretly created the message by imitating Khrushchev's voice on his armor's tape recorder. Believing that his government has betrayed him, the Crimson Dynamo accepts Iron Man's offer to defect to United States and work for Tony Stark using his technical genius for good. Back in the Soviet Union, Khrushchev hears about the Crimson Dynamo's betrayal and flies into a rage, promising, "I shall bury Iron Man."